Cool. We live? We running?
Yeah, we're right.
Cool. What's up, y'all? Jonathan Wiseman, podcastmarketing.com. This is another episode of The Grit. And The Grit, I know you've done your research, but for those listening, we basically want to bring on entrepreneurs, interview them, get the lowdown, get their story and their path and journey to success or to failure, because there's a lot more failures than there are successes, especially when you're starting your own business. And very few got the grit to make it fucking happen. So we are bringing on local entrepreneurs, interviewing them, learning about their business models, their marketing strategies, how they got in it, their aha moments, their wow moments, their oh shit, I'm about to fail moments. We want to hear it all. And I think by providing that information and content to aspiring entrepreneurs or existing entrepreneurs, it's going to make them feel like there's other people going through the same thing as them. Therefore, they can hopefully take something from this to help benefit their business, whether it's consoling them and emotional support, to giving them maybe some ideas and strategies to help launch their business and take it to the next level. So that's the that's the purpose of The Grit. And we're happy to have you on the show because you're a local entrepreneur.
Yes, and I'm happy to be on. And when I went and got information and saw what you were doing, I thought it was great. I think it's good to have the in the moments, the people who are starting up, the people that have already been there, because a lot of podcasters or anything out there, it's about like 5 years later or only successful entrepreneurs. And then a lot of people feel like they can't do those types of things because there's so many steps ahead.
Absolutely. Seems untangible.
Yeah. So the education piece is huge. And the fact that you have local entrepreneurs, and there's so many types of entrepreneurship nowadays. So
sure.
You know, when you have one, you can have multiple. So that's one of the things I wanted to come on and just kind of share my story, and being in the middle of my third business, my third baby, and growing others. So.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. And you, as you said, you've got 3 babies.
Yes.
So I don't know if we got time to go through all of them.
Well, they're all connected.
Okay, well then perfect.
One was born from the other, so.
Well, there you go. Then we're going to make time for it.
Perfect.
So you're a local entrepreneur.
Yes, I am.
And I know you're also a podcaster.
I am.
So we're going to get to that in a little bit because I want to talk about that because I'm new to this.
You know,
and,
we'll talk about it together.
Yeah, it's cool.
Still learning. I'm still learning.
I am too. So any information I can learn from you, come on with it.
Perfect.
What was that?
Oh, that's gonna happen. That's just part of my personality.
I love it already. So what business are you in? Geovanna White?
Yes, Geovanna White.
And what is the name of your business? What is it that you do?
So I own Neewer Events and Receptions.
Okay.
It is a wedding venue in Tomball.
Okay.
We will have our birthday next month.
Wow.
Yep, we grand opened a year ago in September.
Sweet, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Made it to the year mark.
Yes.
That is a huge accomplishment.
It is, and it's a lot of work.
Yes, it is.
A lot of work. It's definitely not easy.
No, well, and you're going to share some of that with us.
Yes, I will. That's what I want to do.
Neewer Weddings and Receptions.
Mm-hmm.
And so you actually own a venue.
So yes, it's a little complicated. We own the management company, so we still lease the building out.
Well, sure.
But we own Neewer, yeah.
Yeah, so you have your own
Yes,
venue. It's
my
not
own
just
venue.
a service.
No.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Real cool. So how did you get into this? Have you been in the wedding business for a while?
So I started 5 years ago in the wedding industry, really because I was getting married in Las Vegas and I could not find a florist. And so what I decided to do was just make my own floral here and ship it or take it with me. So that project took like 6 months because what I wanted wasn't available. Flew it with me, took pictures. So many people were asking me, like, where did you get your floral? One thing led to another. I started a really small, just silk artificial floral company called Simply Blossoming, and just did that part-time. I worked for Victoria's Secret for 13 years. I was working with them full-time on salary. Just thought this will be some supplemental income.
Sure.
And, 3 years in, I started to do weddings, like wedding planning. So I got certified as a wedding planner. I had lots of clients that were like, we want more than just this floral service. So I went out and started doing that. And my 4th year in, I had to leave the corporate world because
Had to leave Victoria's Secret.
I did. I had to leave them. Loved them. 13 years was great, but I couldn't take business because I was working so much.
Sure.
So from there, I just went straight into wedding planning. Did that for a couple of years, and then Neewer was available last year. And my brother said, this is something that you're fantastic at. It'd be stupid for us to not take this opportunity.
Sure.
It's a 5 to 8 year business plan. And
so this all kind of transpired over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So it was like, what, 3 years ago you left Victoria's Secrets?
Yeah, almost 3 years.
And I think that's, amazing to share is that a lot of business owners don't start with an idea and just go, head first and go all in and risk it all.
No.
Sometimes it happens as a side project. Many times it happens by accident. And to have, your career of 13 years kind of affords you to start this as a side and lend itself to cover the overhead while you built this business. And many times that's how businesses and entrepreneurs are funded, is by having their main gig for several years until it turns into, well, now the main job that was supporting everything financially is now a side gig until you wing it off or just drop it.
Yeah, I don't think you can I don't know many entrepreneurs that can just quit their job cold turkey and then start a business. And people want to do that, and I get it. It's time consuming. I have kids too, like teenage kids, so I don't recommend it. And you have to do your homework. Like, the wedding industry is saturated. To open a wedding venue where I'm at, people are like, you're crazy. There's so many out there. So I really had to be different. I didn't want to come in doing the same thing that everybody else was doing.
And so tell me about being different, because it is a saturated market. And, being a digital marketer and entrepreneur, looking at a lot of my clients, for the most part, 98% of them are in a saturated market. There's 10 to hundreds of other companies doing the same thing. So what do you do in your saturated market to separate you from the rest or to stand out in a saturated crowd?
Well, I'm gonna put it in a smaller story because it's such a big concept. But most wedding venues are either like a DIY. You come in, do it yourself, rent the venue, and you can, not spend that much money or spend as much money. Other venues are all inclusive, where they have a team, vendors that come in and everything's done. You just come sign a contract. You don't have to worry about anything else. What I decided to do, because I'm solo, my brother and I do run that company, but I run the venue and the operations piece, was I already had exclusive partners that I have worked with in the last 5 years that I reached out to and said, look, this is what I want to do. I'm not going to have a staff for probably 2 to 3 years. It's just going to be me. I want to, find the best wedding experts, and I don't want to call them preferred vendors, because that's anywhere. Anyone can be on a list at a venue.
Sure.
And I, want to grow other businesses as well. So I didn't go high end because that's not my demographic. It's not my venue. It's not my clientele. Mm-hmm. But I also didn't go low end, where a lot of people think all inclusive is like, oh, well, we're just going to get, the cheapest. So, it's getting the best, the wedding experts, quality, they're affordable, and that they're able to meet the team. They're able to know who they are based on just being on the website, coming to events. We were at Bridal Extravaganza two times in a row, and just saying, okay, I want my wedding to be here, and I want them to take care of me. So all of my exclusive partners are locally owned Houston businesses.
Gotcha.
And they've been in the wedding industry for 10 or more years. And then I do have smaller businesses that we own. So we own part of our photography and videography company. We really helped bring in a hair and makeup team that we know can take on the business.
Do you still do the floral as well?
So the floral is my mom's now, so we still do it in-house.
Kept it in the family?
It is.
That's
so
cool.
it's like her therapy. I take all the orders. It's we kind of have a little bit of it part of the package. And everything's so turnkey with us that clients, they don't see us until 90 days out. So they'll book a year in advance, a year and a half in advance, and then they're sitting back down with us 90 days later. And that's the most important piece. They don't have to worry about anything. They're doing an engagement party. They're doing their save the dates. They're enjoying being engaged and not worried about deposits and vendors and meetings. Like, we don't need to see you until 3 months before your wedding. Let's get you re-excited, and then we'll finish everything off. And
Gotcha.
we've had a great turnout. Five-star reviews. All of my vendors are fantastic. I mean, I don't even want to call them vendors, my partners.
Yeah.
Because without them, we would not be where we are in less than a year.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, and I like it from, the client standpoint, where it's effortless. You leave them alone. You're not bugging them. And you said, 90 days out is when you start touching them. So from a business perspective, when it comes to booking, if they're booking a year out, when do you start to collect that deposit? Do you do it 90 days out, or do you do it a year out to reserve the schedule?
So we do a reserve the date, or what we call a deposit, but it's not a high one. It's 25%, and it's only 25% of the rental. We don't need anything up until 60 days prior to the event, because we pay our vendors directly. So for us, we normally do a monthly payment plan where clients can kind of see what their payments are going to look like within the year. If they want to pay more up front, it's really customized to how they need it.
Really
It's just due 60 days before.
Gotcha. Cool. And so y'all are, you have the location, and then all of the other subsidiary businesses surrounding that you have your hands in as well.
Yes.
Or you're partners with the company.
Partners. And I have partners, that have multiple businesses within their business that can come and help and do any add-ons. It's like you get the all-inclusive and you can still get a little bit more because we're budget friendly.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So you're kind of the all-inclusive versus the custom. You're literally right in the middle.
Yep.
Trying to marry those two together.
And I think it's hard for, couples to understand that because there really isn't anything out there here in Houston that I've seen.
Sure.
I've been able to work with coaches all around the U.S. that are in the same industry, and I that's a lot of what they're doing, but they're standing out in their market.
Sure. So you're telling me what's making you stand out, meeting those two in the middle. Mm-hmm. What are you doing to market your business, to generate traffic, to get sales, and keep feeding everybody?
So one of the things that I did not do from the beginning was a good website. And for right now, we're in the middle of redesigning for it to be a silent salesperson, where the transparent pricing is on there, where they can honestly they can put it in a cart and just buy their own package. They can meet the vendors there. So really utilizing the website, and then we're about to partner up with social media just to really get those stories out there. If they get on there, maybe only see 3 or 4 pictures, are they understanding who we are, what we do?
Sure.
So that's kind of where we are now. Construction went over budget. So
As always.
So the first year, it's like, oh, I have barely anything to work with, and we do partner up with like the Knot, and I do a lot with the Bridal Extravaganza. They're great. They're fantastic with helping us out because they're local.
So mentioning that, what is the Knot?
The Knot is like the #1 wedding advertising source in the United States. So
is it print, magazine?
It's everything. Digital,
okay.
Social media. They do live webinars. So they're not only are they for the couples, they're for the vendors too. So they do a lot of education, and so that's something that we've had since we've opened. But the main thing for me is local. The Knot
Sure.
is great. It is saturated just because there's so many venues.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
you can't just focus on one thing, or they say, oh, the Knot's going to get all my business for me. And then it's me being out there. I mean,
you got to diversify.
The first year was hard. Everyone's like, I don't see you at events. And I'm like, well, because, I'm running a business.
Yeah.
I'm running 3 businesses. So now, going into 2020, I'm already like at that 5-6 months, like, what am I going to do differently? Again, bringing on more partnerships, learning about the business, learning exactly what my clients need, and going back and seeing, what did we do great? Why are clients giving us 5-star reviews, and how can we keep that going? And when we don't get that 5-star review, is going, okay, what do we need to do better? What did we miss?
Sure.
So those are the things that I'm working on now for 2020.
Well, I think it's amazing. And being a woman-owned business is absolutely amazing. I know that's going to be motivating to a lot of people out there.
I love it.
So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you.
Really cool. So the other companies you were talking about, one was the floral business, and then I guess the photography, is that the other, or is there another one?
That's just one of our side businesses. My other business is, because of so much traffic and so many couples that I've met in the last 5-6 years and being in the industry, is I decided to start a podcast. And through that, I do engagement and wedding coaching, which has never been heard of. It's crazy. People don't even know what that means. But my podcast is not like a wedding planning podcast. It is a wedding education podcast. So I would say 85% of newly engaged couples are just not financially ready to get married. So I think they take that step from being engaged and going straight into planning mode, when they need to take a whole season of just being engaged and learning, doing their homework, reading the reviews. So what I decided to do was have an educational podcast with wedding experts, not vendors, wedding experts. So financial advisors. I just had a compassionate leadership coach that's coaching couples a year to 2 years out, and preventing that being in debt, getting married and being in debt. Having a wedding plan just one-sided and just being the bride, because that's what our industry is. So
Sure.
Bringing the partners together, bringing the bride and groom together, and making them understand that this financial decision narrows down to 10 hours one day, and you have to do it together, because it's almost like the first chapter of the rest of your life. And are you always going to go back and be like, I can't believe we spent $30,000 on this wedding, and now we can't even buy a house?
Yeah.
So it's really more for me
I
to
love the
eliminate the gap.
educational process of that.
I love it.
And like you said, nobody is doing this. I haven't heard of this anywhere.
It's so new that it's hard for me to get people and not have a private Facebook group.
Yeah.
Very small, because I want it to be couples. In my industry, it's all bride groups. I'm in like 7 bride groups. You can find them all the time. But this is for them to have a community where they're comfortable asking those questions, like, why does it cost so much for a DJ photographer? Explain to me what, the whys. Like, well, they're a business. They're supporting. They have insurance. Like, there's so much behind it. But also making sure that they're understanding that what are their goals in the next 3 to 5 years. It's not just, let's just wedding plan, let's have this big party, and then we'll figure things out.
Sure.
So I want to prevent that, and I want to prevent, just the stress, because I see it not so much with me at my venue because we do so much, but I just see it in the industry. And I want them to understand this is for you both. And so don't worry about getting married in 6 months, 8 months. Wait a year, wait 2. You're going to spend the rest of your life together.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Take your time, do it right, and prepare the right way.
Yeah. And so I just do a little bit of coaching on the side. I have clients that call me. We do budgets together. I have lots of tools and resources where if they want to get on a coaching call or I'm working on an ebook, which will drop next month, but I'm also this is where my 4th baby will come. I'm going to get in the online business. I'm going to do an e-course because I do this so much and I'm only one person and it's almost like therapy that I want to develop a course, maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks that they can take together and then decide, okay, are we ready to get married?
Sure.
Or this is what we need to do to even think about getting married.
Yeah.
So
I think that's absolutely
and the online business is so great.
E-commerce is amazing.
Yeah. And there's nothing out there for it. And that's what I'm like, there's a need in the market that's oversaturated of education. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, and that's what, consulting or coaching, that's what everything is really, there's 100 digital marketing agencies out there within a 100-mile radius of me that I'm competing with daily. What's the difference between you and everybody else? It's how educated you are, how hands-on you are, how much you've learned from actual trial and error versus how much you contract out to other people to do it for you. Yeah. And so the value that you're adding, not just as a standalone product or a course or a podcast, but it also pairs very well with your other business ventures so that you're getting added value. You're giving added value to your clients. So anybody that's, and that's what I tell entrepreneurs, what are you doing to really stand out and be different? What is the added value that you're giving to your prospective clients or your existing clients? And what are you giving them to them after the fact? After you land them, close them, sell them, what is that continued support in business or that continued revenue stream so that you keep those clients engaged for a long-term connection?
Correct.
And what you're doing is absolutely amazing, and it's meeting all those points.
Yeah. And
what is the name of your podcast?
It's Just Engage University.
Just Engage University.
Yeah.
And is that also going to be the name of your course?
It will be the name of my course.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Just Engage University. Do you have justengageuniversity.com?
I do.
So that is where you can go get educated.
Yeah.
justengageuniversity.com.
Yeah.
Dope.
Great stuff on Instagram. I know the world now is revolved around Instagram, but
sure.
One of the things that people ask me too a lot is like, how do you do all of this? Well, it's definitely the priority is Miabella. Like that's where I focus my I would say 80% of my
it's
time.
Your bread and butter.
But if it weren't for Miabella, all this other stuff would have happened. So I took the opportunity and I ran with it. But it's been really hard. Like the last 5 months to try to figure out how much time to give to each one and feeling guilty for not giving the right amount.
I've been there. That's one of the biggest things I've learned over more so the last year, 2 years than any part of my careers are not spreading yourself thin. And just because you have an idea, in your business, in your niche, there's always other ideas that spawn revenue stream opportunities, money-making ideas that, if I just did this, I could, increase my profit margins and my sales and my volume. And what I've learned over the last few years is that if you're going to spread yourself thin, you're not going to be able to focus on your main, your customer service, your quality of service, your quality of products. You're going to start to diminish. And the more you try to take on, the less you're going to be able to take care of your main focus and your main customers. And so it is a balance because there are certain, as you said, you have Mia Bella, you have the flowers, you have the podcast. There are certain things that complement it very well. And if you keep that synergy and you're able to do it, you can do it successfully. So I'm not saying don't think of other ideas, but it is a balancing act. And sometimes you try it and you invest into it and you realize 3 months into it, this shit isn't going to work.
Right. No, it does happen. I mean, and I also think you got to look at your seasons, because in the wedding industry, I have 2 main seasons. I have to focus on that exactly. Spring in Houston, it's spring and fall. So then I said, in the summer, I'm going to focus on the podcast, create that content, sit down and really have a strategy behind it.
Sure.
And a lot of things that entrepreneurs don't do is you have to invest in yourself. That's something that I wish I would have done a lot sooner. I didn't get a coach until January of this year. And I was, it's the money, it's so expensive.
Well, and a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, including myself, a lot of them can be cocky or arrogant or think they know everything, or that, I don't need anybody else to tell me how to be successful, or I don't want anybody else's advice. I think I'm the expert and I think I know everything about my industry. What is a coach going to do for me that has no idea about my industry? And if you can, tell the audience from experience what that coach is actually offering you or giving you outside of, how to do floral arrangements and how to cater to the wedding business, what value are they bringing you? How are you seeing that return?
Well, I've been looking into getting a coach for a while, and there's so many out there, but I wanted a coach that was only like one step ahead of me, that she's already done what I do. She's not in the wedding industry, but she had a brick and mortar store. She worked for IBM for years. She was a VP of marketing for IBM. Also a mom of 2, doing the side hustle. And when she has a podcast and I was listening to her, I said, this is what I need. And it's accountability, it's strategy. You don't have a boss. When you're an entrepreneur, you just get up one day and you're like, I don't want to work. You can't do that. You cannot have that. So it's almost stupid to say that I have a coach to keep me in my place, to make sure that, I am allowed to take some time off, because that's one of the things that,
So I have a wife that does that for me.
My husband tells me, like, you have to schedule time off, because he's in hospitality. He's a chef. So we live in these worlds of working ourselves
24/7
all the time,
Sure.
And when the kids are in school, we're working. When the summer is a little harder for me because they're home.
Yeah.
But
Thank God the summer's over, huh?
Yes. She got me to have a summer strategy before summer even came. I think if I wouldn't have had her, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now with all of my businesses. And then she also told me, you need to slow down here. Prioritize the summer, spend time with your kids, because they're going to, grow up and graduate in the next 6.5 years. And don't feel bad about doing it. You're going to have a different schedule in the summer.
What do you invest into a coach? What do you spend monthly on that, or annually, roughly?
Everyone's different.
Sure.
Quarterly, where she does like $1,200 a quarter. Okay. We get one-on-one coaching once a week, and then anything that I need from there, she's available.
It's a $5,000 annual investment,
right?
And that return is exponential, I'm assuming.
Enormous. And again, there's so many coaches out there that I'm like, I would love to have, but I don't want a coach that's been doing this for, there's so many mentors that I listen to in podcasts. I'm like, they're so ahead of me that I'd be drowning.
Yeah. And a lot of them are also on autopilot.
Yep.
And then you, of course, got the fakes and frauds that are just regurgitating somebody else's content.
Yeah. Which is important to take your time. That's like getting married. If you need a coach, don't do it in a week. You're going to have to go out there, get testimonials, talk to actual people.
Research.
Research.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's important. I think as an entrepreneur, everybody should have that, even at the beginning, just to kind of get you focused.
I wish coaching was popular when I got started. It was always me and my brother bouncing ideas off each other. And, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do it. And, learn the hard way.
But you're the 2%ers of the world. I mean, there's very far and few people that can do that. And it really is 2% of the world that can just get up and run a business and do it all from beginning to end without having,
without getting stumped along the way.
Without having I don't want to call them a boss, but that's what it is. When you're working a 9 to 5 or you're in corporate or you're any other, you have a schedule. You have a boss. You have to have certain numbers. They have their own strategy. You're making money for them, so they're gonna put you in the right direction. But when you're making money for yourself and you don't know that because no one's ever taught you that,
sure,
you got to find it.
Yeah, and they definitely don't teach it in school.
No.
There's no courses you could take.
No.
And you would think that they would teach more of the school system. I won't even get into that. But
it's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
My kids I think your kids and my kids are the same age, so
I got them across the board. It's crazy.
I'm like, you guys are interning with the businesses because they're not going to learn this in school.
So you're a year in now,
Yes.
or just about to have, you said next week?
Next month.
Next month, 1 year anniversary. Congratulations on that again.
Thank you.
Have you had your aha moment or that moment when you've just kind of had that one sigh of relief where it's like, all right, this is going to work?
Yes.
Have you, being a year in, which is a very, very short time, and 90% of businesses fail before reaching this mark. So it's fucking amazing.
Thank you.
That you've made this.
And it almost didn't happen.
Have you had the chance to, breathe? And business owners are, I pat myself on the back. They're not going to say that. I know you're not going to say that right now, and I know you're going to say you've never done it, you never will. But have you at least had that sigh of relief where it's like, all right, it's going to work?
Yes, and it's recent, I would say, in the last couple of weeks after we had Bridal Extravaganza in July, and I felt a lot better from the first one to the second one within the year we've been in Mia Bella. But it has to do with these partnerships, and really starting to ask for more. I'm always a giver, and I need to learn to stop giving so much away or doing so much for others. So, slowly but surely, I've sat down with most of my partners and just said, this is what we're going to need to do. We're going to have to, start rethinking our strategy for 2020. And, in order for all of us to make it, I have to make it first. Because without me, you don't have it. You don't have these events. So kind of I don't want to say being selfish. I've never been a person to ask from even like what's expected. I've always kind of been like, okay, a little bit's okay. They're here, they're helping, but I need to ask for more because when I succeed, they succeed. And just learning to say no.
That's
my God, yeah.
That's one of the biggest things I've seen hurt people when they start their own business is they don't want to say no because they're too nice.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to say no to income potential.
Yep.
And just because you're being offered money doesn't mean you should always accept it.
Correct.
I think that is a huge thing to point out, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. I had to, in a personal level, just with life, and then also in just the business world, you got to, once you prioritize and you really have, it sounds so dumb, like have that schedule and understand that how valuable your time is, then you're going to really start to have those moments, and then go back and reflect on both the wins. That's one of the things I never do and I need to do more of. And when you do, you feel so much better, and you almost have this new perspective the next day of like, what I'm doing, this is what I'm meant to do.
I love it.
And then the other things are just, don't give up. There's going to be there are days all the time. I mean, especially with the summer, that I'm just like, what am I doing? Why? What was I thinking to put so much on my plate? But no, I'm thinking of 10 years, 20 years, my kids, other business owners in Houston that are trying to do the same thing in the world, really. And just saying, you know what, don't be scared. I've been scared. I didn't want to do the podcast. I told my coach, I was like, I'm never going to do a podcast. I wanted to blog. And she's like, your industry is so oversaturated. You think brides and groom want to read another blog or, an article. And I said, but they're not going to know what this is. And now everyone's like, but this is great. I get in the car, I can listen to you. I'm at work, I'm on my break, I'm at school. A lot of these, couples are still in college. And I'm like, what was I thinking not doing this sooner?
Yeah, no, it's a perfect way and opportunity for people to consume content. We actually got into podcasting to produce the video content for my clients in digital marketing. I couldn't get my clients to do a video for anything. And it doesn't make sense financially to spend $4, $5, $6 grand on doing little commercials and little short videos. So the podcast was a platform to get my clients on here, to get some video production out of it, and then utilize it for marketing purposes.
And it's the gift that keeps on giving.
It is. Well, and it really is. And that's something that I've been explaining to all of them, because also the Audible that comes along with it is the platforms that consume content. Whatever industry you're in, weddings to construction to insurance to anything. People, as you were saying, they consume it at school, they consume it at work, on the way to work, in the car. If you think of old school marketing, whether it's newspaper, print, or it is commercial radio, there's only a few hours a day that people can possibly consume that content. Not to mention, most of the technology in place now is written to overwrite that content. TiVo to skip over commercials, or everybody's live streaming now, so they don't hear the commercials on the radio. Nobody even really listens to radio anymore. So it's amazing that you started this and you saw that and went in that direction.
Yeah, it was scary. I mean, I still haven't one of the things that my coach keeps on telling me, just like she said with the podcast, I haven't gone on live. I don't really do videos on Instagram and Facebook. I do a lot of Insta stories, but not with me in them, with
live
product.
Is intimidating.
It is. It really is.
We pre-record. I don't shoot live.
But but I see people out there, and the people that are engaged and involved and really are giving that value, which we talk about value, are the people that just don't care. They just get on, they do it. It's not rehearsed. And you see both worlds. You see the beautiful Insta stories and the Instagrams that are like polished, and you're like, I can't. If mine doesn't look like that, then I'm not going to do it. And in my industry, what does my coach says? B plus is like an A for my clients, and I need to stop focusing on what everybody else is doing and say, just get your stuff out there. If it doesn't work, take it down. Someone
what
doesn't
I've
like
learned
it, don't do it.
Is being authentic is going to get you a lot further, and being raw and being real, and adding and that's the main thing for the podcast, is humanizing your industry. Anybody can go online and look at 20 different Instagram accounts with beautiful, perfect pictures and photography and setups and florals and wedding pictures and everything. But the first one that has audio and video of somebody talking to the camera, talking to their audience, and educating them, giving good added value, which is exactly what you're doing, you're going to knock them all over the head.
Yeah. Yeah, and you just got to get out of that comfort zone. I'm working on it. I got to go live tomorrow, so I have an open house, so there you go. There's no joking around now.
Cool.
No.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing your story. And, women entrepreneurs are fucking amazing. My wife is one, and I've, more power to you, and for being inspiration for others to take that plunge and take the risk and to do it. And tell me again the name of your podcast.
So podcast is at Just Engage University, and Instagram is where you'll find me better than anywhere else. So at Just Engage University. And hit me up, give me a DM, I'll help you out.
Yeah. And
I'll answer those questions.
JustEngageUniversity.com.
Yep.
And then the Mia Bella is the actual location that you...
Yeah, so Mia Bella events and receptions, we're in Tomball, and you can find me at miabellavita.com.
Cool. Well, I'll put all that below.
Yes, thank you.
JustEngageUniversity.com. Cool. Well, appreciate y'all tuning in today. This is Geovanna White with JustEngageUniversity.com. Y'all check her out if y'all looking to get engaged anytime soon, get married, and be sure to tune into her podcast as well. And this is The Grit, and we'll see you on the next one.